Microsoft PowerPoint, but I think I will use this Canva thing to start with. So hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Kary Ho. I'm a graduate electrical engineer working for Network Rail. Thanks very much for inviting me over today to kind of talk you through my career journey. I will try to make it more interesting as possible. And then also there will be some short videos in between, so it's just to give you a bit of flavor of what the railway industry is. So I think in the following presentation, I would go through 3 areas. What I find it might be interesting for you to know, a little bit about my circular career, how I kind of started from university and then up till the current stage where I'm with the company. What's the favorite part that I find about engineering, and then I'm open up to any questions towards the end of the session. So do feel free to ask me anything related to my job or my hobbies and everything. So a little bit fun fact of myself. I'm from Hong Kong, so I moved to UK for 11 years now. There's a few things that I really like to do when I'm kind of on my personal time. I really love to travel, do backpacking trips, and also kind of take photographs. So the second photo, I took it in Paris, and then the third photo, I took it in Morocco with a really cute cat in the area. Also, I really enjoy doing some drawing on my day-to-day time. So that's the final picture is a drawing that I made myself a while ago. So this is I'm going to talk a little bit more about my career. So back in the time when I did my A-levels in UK, I chose 4 subjects. So I did maths, further maths, chemistry, and physics. Engineering is not something that kind of being introduced in our school, but I know about engineering because of my sister, and my parents. So my father and my sister, both of them, they are engineers. So my sister is an aerospace engineer, my dad is an electrical engineer. So I kind of know a little bit more about it. And the reason why I choose engineering instead of pure science subject is I really enjoy the part about learning about the theoretical area and then applied it into real life. So you have heard people talking about a lot of engineering projects. I think that's the bit that I find it really interesting. So that's why when I did my university degree in University of Surrey, I did a degree on an integrated master course, which is a 5-year course on digital media engineering. And then after that, I moved on, did a year for placement in a company called Cadence Design System, which is a software company for when they develop a software tool that being used on your phone, with the chips inside, that makes your phone works. And then after that, I did research in pattern recognition and deep learning. So people talk about artificial intelligence. So I did a bit of programming for 2 years back in the University of Surrey. And after that, it was 2019, which I applied for the graduate engineering graduate scheme at Network Rail. So it started my journey in railway since then. So this is just a quick overview of what I've done kind of prior to the graduate scheme. So this is, just wait me a second. I'm going to play a video. This is a kind of an animation that our company put together. So it will tell you a little bit more about what Network Rail does and what the railway industry is. I think there should be sound associated to it. If you can't hear it, just let me know. I do remember there's subtitles also underneath the, in the video. So do let me know if you can hear anything. Okay, cool.
Wouldn't it be great to feel like every journey you were involved in was the perfect journey? If we all do our bit, every journey will feel special to our customers and a success for the network. Planning delivers an efficient and safe service, balancing the customer's needs with the capability of the network. Resources ensure the right people are in the right place at the right time all the time so that they can fulfill their roles. Maintenance. Work in all weathers, ensuring the assets are safe and in good working order all year round. Fleet. Service the trains and deliver them gleaming on time to the network. Stations. Get our customers through on time, assist them when they need our help, and dispatch the trains punctually. Guards. Help our customers on their journey and are always prepared. Drivers are vigilant to keep the train safe and on time. Signallers need to plan ahead, monitor the service, and be prepared to react. Control. Monitor the network, keep order, and are ready to respond, helping it run smoothly. Moms are the eyes and ears on the network, ready to respond at a moment's notice. And customers, well, they just enjoy the ride and arrive on time. But what really makes the network run like clockwork? Teamwork. It takes over 8,000 of us working together to create the perfect journey on each and every line. Achieving our vision of a high-performing railway delivered together.
So this is just like a short video about like what the network does.
So where would you sort of fit into those categories then? Would you work more on the actual carriages or more on the actual railway lines?
I'm actually more on the railway line. So like one session that you see that it did mention about maintenance. So currently I'm doing a maintenance placement down here in London Euston. So it's like we're looking at electrification and plant assets around the area in the Euston area. So I can give you a little bit more kind of pictures and things to kind of describe what I do more like day to day. Let me just see. Okay. So like I was just going into kind of like a really high level of what I do. So like when I joined the company in 2019, so that is like the 2 years now I'm on like this with Network Rail. So throughout this 2 years, I've been doing a lot of different things. So I've been kind of moving around like teams within the company, so like to try to understand what type of assets are there like in the Network Rail network. So Network Rail, we are like an infrastructure owner. Like, so for example, when you take a train, like you will see like you have the tracks, the ballasts, the structures next to it. Like also sometimes you have stations nearby, and like we own all the assets. So for example, also you have drainage and a lot of like line side assets. Those like Network Rail actually owns it. So like for me, like the 2 years while in the company, I kind of move across teams. So like within Network Rail, we have different divisions. So you have like signaling, telecoms, civils, and also like electrification and plant. And also there are lots of kind of like system operator which supports all these engineering functions. So for example, you have like people from the project management team, you have projects, you also have like people like finance director, like a lot of different division come together to make sure that the railway there we are operating kind of like reliable, and also like we have like efficient service kind of coming like to bring all our customers from A to B, like from the source to destination. So there are some activities that I do, like kind of do site visits for. So on the left hand side is an area, because I'm based in York, so like there's a railway operating center in York, which outside the operating center where the signal works, there's like a training facilities down there. And then these are all the electrification and plant assets. So for example, when your train you will need to get some power from your train to run your trains up to 125 miles per hour, then you need like these equipments on top, what we call it overhead lines, to get the power from the national grid to the trains. So this is like the facility that you see, and this is like some workers actually like installing what we call a pulley wheel, like on the structure. So every wire that you see here, it will have like an end point of the contact wire, and then it will have some sort of like what we call balance weight here to make sure that like the tension of that wire remains like high tension. So when your train, when you have a pantograph, getting in contact with the contact wire to draw the power, it won't dewire from that perspective. But it's like a really high level of what that is. Also on the right hand side, this is like one of the site visits I visited. It's called high output trains. So what they do is they have like a really long yellow train, which they can do like a track renewal job. Normally, if you do it manually with person, you probably need like at least 2 to 3 weeks time to lay out the tracks and then put all these ballasts and slippers down there. But with this high output train, you can do everything in one. Like you can probably do maybe at least 200 to 300 meters of the tracks with this machine and all the manpower in one shift. So that's the reason why it called high output train is that's the case.
It sounds like it's really sort of difficult work doing what you do. Is it quite difficult to do on a day-to-day basis? Are all days quite different and quite struggle? Like it's quite a struggle?
So every day is different. So for example, like these are the training facilities, but like, for example, in the maintenance team, we will have like people, actually the frontline staff actually going out on site to do a periodic inspection. So what we normally do is we don't really want any assets to fail and then impacting the journey of the passenger. So we do like predictive maintenance. So for all our assets, we need to plan like maybe at least 3 to 4 weeks, every year or every 6 months, we will do inspection on different types of assets to make sure that they don't fail. And then like if they are running like if they are aging, we need to schedule some like the renewals or enhancement team to kind of fix them so that it won't cause any issue on the track. So this is more like the day-to-day job of how the maintenance teams work, but there's also a lot of different division, also different discipline within the company, which looks at different parts of the assets. So we have like people from civils, which looks into bridges, viaducts, embankments, and like those areas. And we have people from track, which actually look at the track and all the ballasts underneath it. You have signaling, which is like all the kind of red, yellow, green signals that you can see along the tracks, like the traffic system that you see. Also, we have telecoms, which is like the heart of what it is. If you think in that way, like an analogy of it is, you have your electrification and plant, which is like your heart pumping the power, like pumping the energy and power out. You have like your telecoms, which is like the veins or articles, like kind of circulating around the network, because you need to, like a lot of these things are kind of data driven. So you need like the telecoms network to be able to send signals, to different assets so that they can operate well. And then you have like all the other assets, which is more kind of works around to make the network, and the tracks and everything kind of in place. So that's the way how I kind of think about like a railway network. And then this is another project that I've recently kind of do a site visit in. It's called Station Wi-Fi Upgrade Project. So if you're thinking about maybe a few like 5 or 10 years ago, when you in the station, you got stuck and you try to find out how I get from one place to another. Now you have like Google app. like a Google map, but like a few years ago, like it's difficult to kind of get in touch with people like on the internet. But now what we like as Network Rail, what we are doing is we're upgrading a lot of the facilities in the station. So like for example, if you're if you're a leisure traveler trying to get your way around like the area, you can actually connect to the internet like for free around the area. So like this is one of the places that I visit in like London Liverpool Street and also Liverpool Lime Street. They're installing different equipments down there, which kind of helps the customer to have a more comfortable and enjoyable journey.
Yeah.
And
so
also,
is it quite difficult sort of modernizing some of these lines? Because I bet some of the things that you'd work with would be really old and some of it's quite new. Is there quite a difference in the technology everywhere?
like in Network Rail, we have 5 regions. So like a different area will have a different ways of working. And then they also like, because in UK, like for Network Rail, we own a lot of like the infrastructure is actually from Victorian age era. Like until now, we have like modernization with electrification and plant. So I mean, like electrify a lot of lines at the moment. So like you will see that, for example, in Houston, it's quite a challenging area. They have like equipment back in 60s, and also like they have upgraded a lot of equipment to like current standard.
Yeah.
So as a maintenance team, we need to understand what our assets are, and then we need to make sure that like when we're scheduling maintenance activity, we need to capture all these information. And like there are also, for example, in Houston area, one of the challenging thing is you also have interface with the underground, like the TfL services. So like, and also you have like HS2 coming into place, like building a new station in the area. So it's changed quite significantly on the layout and how the equipments are placed compared to 5 or 10 years ago. So like we need to get a really good understanding of where things are located and how do we make sure that we delivered all the projects and the maintenance activity, like kind of according to the asset type. Yeah. This is like one of the largest project that I can currently say that I've worked on. So it's called East Coast Mainline Power Supply Upgrade. So East Coast Mainline is actually spanning from London King's Cross all the way up to the Scottish border. So what they are doing is like they are in order to accommodate more intercity trains and faster intercity trains, what they're doing is like they're upgrading the existing substation and building new ones that can support the extra like current demand, like the power demand in the area. So it's really interesting for me because this project is currently still kind of ongoing. So on the left hand side is like the York feeder station, that like substation that they are putting in. So they are laying out some foundations on the ground of the building itself. This is one of the existing feeder station that you can see in Hutton Bonville, like this also up in north, but they are planning to build a new one next to it and then demolish the old one.
Yeah.
And the third one, this one I think is in Benton area up in north. So like there's quite a lot of challenges. So you see there's like 2 tracks. These are the existing feeder station and harmonic distortion building. They're planning to move all these equipment to the opposite side of the tracks, but there's a lot of kind of challenges around in area because you can see there's a lot of bushes in this area, and then it's really difficult to kind of deliver the construction material on site. So like when I was with the project teams, we actually do a proper site visit before we actually plan any, like we have the design, but we need to kind of sort out the logistics of how we move things into the site. So it was a really kind of interesting and challenging thing that we do, because in railway we are always kind of being bounded with costs and also like a time frame of delivering these activities. So it's a really interesting thing that I've been kind of involved in. And this is like what I'm doing currently, like electrification and plant maintenance. So on the left hand side is like an area down in Wilson Junction in London. So they are laying out some power cables in the area. So like we're trying to do like cable tracing of what these cables are within the area. The second one is like a overhead line maintenance. So the team is actually like doing periodic maintenance on these cables and trying to clean up some insulators under a bridge, which is normally like we need to look into those areas. And the third one is like a substation in Acton Lane, also in London. So like these are all the equipment that you can see to draw the power, and then from here it feeds out to the tracks that you can see in the overhead line. So these are just kind of like some pictures showing you what I normally do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a really quick overview of like 15-20 minutes showing you what I've been doing, what Network Rail is doing. But I'm open up to any questions if anyone would like to know more about it.
Well, we do have a few questions that have come through from some people. Somebody's asked, do you get to travel quite a lot? Do you get to journey up and down the country quite a lot?
Yes, so I will just stop sharing my screen. So for me, it's like I'm based, like my contracted location is in York, but I'm currently doing a lot of placements in Birmingham and in London area. And I've actually traveled up to Glasgow, and also like in London Waterloo, I did like a station management like placement. So kind of walk around the station, trying to understand what activities the shift station manager kind of organize. So it's like you have a lot of opportunity to move around the country and see different assets.
What's the sort of nicest station that you've come across as you've looked around? Is there a station that when you think, oh, what's my favorite station, you instantly think of one, and it's like, oh, it's really pretty there and the stuff's really up to date and it's really modern, or something like that? Which one's your favorite?
I think to me, my favorite one is definitely London Waterloo, because like when I did my uni in Surrey, I used to like in Guildford, I used to travel quite a lot to London Waterloo station. That's the station that I kind of used the most. And when I actually joined, did the station management tour, like there's like a team called customer service assistant that bring me around the whole station, trying to understand how do they do crowd control during peak hours when there's like people taking what's that called, the Waterloo and City line. How do they kind of bring people from that area all the way up to the platform for people to take trains. So it was quite an interesting one. And also I managed to get into one of the signaling control center, like within the station, where you can see how people coordinate, like the signalers put signals and send trains in and out the platform. And also like they also did mention about how do they do like look into accessibility. So for example, there are lots of different types of people using the railway network. So for example, you have people who have disability problem, or like they might have different like religious or ethnic background, or there are people also like a commuter, or they are leisure travelers. So it's quite interesting to see it from a different perspective on how the team is actually accommodating all these passengers. So to me, it's like when I first started with the railway, I thought it's more like the engineering work that we are kind of focusing on, but it's actually that's like a front interface part. And if we can think about like what the passengers wants, put into that shoes when we're doing any decision in projects, then it's really important that we have that in mind.
So we've been asked as well from the Year 5 class that's watching, if there are a lot of other women that work with you.
To be honest, I have to say that right now, currently, still a lot of work that we need to do in the railway industry to bring the female, like the gender balance a bit upwards. But I think currently, if you're talking about in the industry, like there are at least 20 to 30% of females in the company, but it's not only within engineering. So it's like a wide range of people from finance, project management, like ops, a lot of areas. Engineering like is still kind of like a male dominated area, but I think like the recruitment team are currently looking into bringing more females like from the university level, doing a lot of like engagement activities. So for example, today, like it's like having myself coming to speak to you and telling you what the opportunities are, then probably you might be interested in kind of joining us in the latest, like when you're grown up. So it's a really good thing that we kind of doing at the moment.
Do you think that it's more difficult doing your job because you're a female, or do you think it's because not enough sort of younger girls are shown that this is a really good sort of job to do and that it can be really interesting? And I think sometimes they're shown engineering as quite a dry subject, whereas it's so flexible. There's so many different things you can do, and like you said that your dad was an electrical engineer and that your sister does aeronautical engineering. There's so many things you can do. And do you think that that's part of the reason why there's not so many women getting into engineering?
I think the main reason is we are not really exposed to engineering when we are in high school or like in primary school. It's not something that like people normally would think either straight into kind of like pure science subjects or mathematics, and or maybe like humanities subjects. For example, English literature is the thing that kind of people have stereotype on, but it will be kind of up to yourself to kind of explore those options. So for example, the reason why I really want to get into engineering was I did a lot of university open days. I went into like the university and they had taught me through what are the courses that they do. Like I kind of like what the equipments that they have offered. So to me, it's like I find it really fascinating to kind of understand more different areas. So even engineering, you have like different discipline in it. So for example, like in civils and also in mechanical, you generally see more girls doing it. But for electrical, it's still kind of like not a lot of people are aware of it.
Yeah. So have you done a few different kinds of engineering in the company, or is it mainly always electrical engineering that you've done?
So for me, it's like because the company is like there's like a lot of like in the railway, there's a lot of multidisciplinary things going on. So for example, taking the East Coast Mainline supply project that I've just previously told you, even though it's like a electrification and plant discipline, but you still have a lot of interface with signaling, telecoms. So like it's quite heavily in that area. So for me, it's like I've tried to go to different teams. So for example, to the design team to understand, like in the signaling design team, to understand how they put signals. So for example, like when the driver is actually looking at the signals, there's like a certain distance that the signals needs to be, because if you're traveling in 125 miles per hour, you need to have certain signal sighting distance for it. And then it's like, what type of signals do you put? So for example, in Europe, you use like something what we call ETCS, which is like what's that called? Automatic system that it communicates the signals with the trains. So like in UK, we're still using like an old system. So it's good that you kind of get the appreciation of what the other disciplines are. So to me, it's like, even though I choose to be an E&P engineer, but like I do have a lot of experience around what other teams are doing.
Right. Oh, what got you interested in engineering? I remember you said it was you sort of already had a thing about it because of your dad and because of your sister. But was there somebody specific who inspired you to want to be an engineer?
I think my sister is actually the main person that kind of inspired me, because I remember at that time, like she did a lot of kind of engineering models. So her background is aerospace. So I've seen her using like software to build up like a plane model. Yeah. So to me, it's like quite interesting to see those things, like from actual mathematics. You plug it into the software and then it gives you like a list, like a kind of a report output saying that is it compliant or not. So it's quite cool from that perspective. So that's the reason why I kind of feel myself I want to go that route. And I find it like when I was in university, I find a lot of friends who also sharing the same vision, same career goal. So you kind of like just stick with it, and then I work quite long with it.
Yeah.
Now.
What's the tool that you get to use on a day-to-day basis that you find is the most helpful tool? Is there something specific that you use day-to-day that is what you find you always just sort of have it out and it's always the most helpful thing to use?
So in the maintenance team, what I can say is like you have people doing the front line, actual kind of physical work on site. Yeah. Myself, like when I joined the team, I'm doing the maths at the back end. So like we have a team called tech team, which
Yeah.
we look at database, we analyze data, and then we kind of use that data to plan the work for the team to do it, like the front-end worker to go out and do it. So like if you talk about like a specific tool, we use Excel quite a lot because it's more like data analysis. But if you talk about like actually going to site, we need to wear like our full orange PPE or personal protective equipment. Sometimes we use multimeter to do like voltage and current measurements.
Yeah.
But like it's mainly down to the frontline team to do the actual kind of asset maintenance work. We are doing more like a little bit what we call the brain of doing all the maths and science at the back end.
So I know that you said that you're working on the electrification up the East Coast and the upgrade of the electrical system there, but are there any interesting projects that are coming up in the future that you'll be doing? Is there sort of something on the horizon that you're looking at that you're excited to do?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like one of the projects that I'm currently working on is a research and development project within my my team. And then what they are doing is like they're planning to, so alongside like in the railway, like we have some trains called new measurement trains, which is like a yellow train that runs across the network, and then we collect overhead line data into like Excel spreadsheet. And then what we do is like we analyze those data and try to collate that information with the design data. Right. And then we draw out like the profile of the overhead line and see if there's a particular area which is out of compliance, so that we can schedule our resources to fix those problems. So this is one of the projects that I'm working on, and we are currently trialing it out like in the northwest and central area, and we're planning to kind of roll it out to more teams like within other regions to use it. I think this is like a really good potential, how like projects or like from a data perspective, how we can improve like the asset reliability. I know it's a little bit kind of like technical terms, but that's how we do things here.
Do you have any advice for young people who'd want to become an engineer?
Yeah, sure. Personally, I think if you ask me back in time, if I'm given the chance, I hope that I would have a bit more experience in programming. So like I remember I actually get in touch with programming like in university, but it's actually a really good thing when you first started in your early ages. It helps you to kind of learn the programming language. How do you write an algorithm? It helps you to do a lot of logical thinking at the back. So if you need to program, like for example, if you have a robot, you want to program it move 5 steps like to the front, like as a human instinct, it's just a simple thing to do. But when you're actually programming it, you need to think about how to lift the leg of the robot. How do you move it 1 step instead of 2 steps? Like there's a lot of kind of like logic in behind. So if I was given the chance kind of to redo my primary school or secondary school, I do hope that I can improve on that area. That's the technical side. But if you're talking about now working in a company, I feel like networking is something very important. So previously, when I was young, I was like an introvert. I don't like to speak to people that I don't know. But I think now in the company I understand myself. I won't be able to do everything myself. Like you need to always ask people for help. Then how do you make sure that like you know who is the right people to reach out to? That's where the networking skills come into place and really help you to shape you like a good personality in the company. Because at work, it's not all about work. Like how do you manage relationship with your colleagues is also something that I find I really treasure to develop at the moment.
Okay. Would you have any advice specifically for girls if they wanted to become engineers? Is there something that they could do maybe if they were in primary or secondary school, or something they should look for if they were interested in doing your job?
If they're interested, I personally will suggest like you to maybe go to Big Bang Fair. That's something that I have been to, and I really enjoyed it, because like you will never know unless you actually see something physically in front of you. And also I will watch some TED Talks, although it's like a really high level thing, but I do think they have some content for kids that you can watch, like a 15 to 20 minutes video that they will talk about a lot of like the research that people are doing, a lot of interesting topics on science. Then it helps you to build a really good knowledge of what STEM is about. Like STEM is like, people now talk about STEAM instead of STEM. So STEM is like science, technology, engineering, and maths. Now people talk about STEAM, which is like with arts in it. So sometimes it is interesting to, if you can kind of get yourself out to participate in any activities related to STEM, you actually have the hands-on experience in, for example, building a vehicle. So previously, I actually helped the primary engineer to kind of went to a school to help them deliver a session on how to build like a small vehicles out of like cardboards and then like batteries and motors. So if you have an experience in trying it out, you will actually find it is really fun. It's not just about like learning theories, it's actually putting theories into practice.
Yeah. I sort of wanted to go back to your education. I remember you said that you did some research all about sort of like the machine learning side of things and that AI kind of thing. Do you think that there's a way that you could implement what you did in your research into your work? Do you think it could be used to make your work easier?
So like in that area, it's not like I think what I would say is like, I know that our company currently are having like research and development in that area. So for example, they get like in stations, they will use like the CCTV camera footage, and then they will apply like pattern recognition to try to understand what people's behavior in it. So like identify if anyone like slip, trips and falls, and then like you can do like if anyone have some misbehavior in the platform area, like they are now developing algorithms to work on it. Also, there are algorithms which looks into like having on the train, that's like a camera recording video footage when the train is running, and then they can apply pattern recognition, like artificial intelligence, into recognizing what type of assets the video image can capture, and then so that in that case they can build like a 3D model of how the railway looks like in that area. So because now I think the main bit is like we're trying to get less staff to be on track, because it's for a safety reason. We don't want people to be hit by a train. So if we can do a lot of work kind of like desktop like site survey, instead of sending people directly go out on track to do the work, then it, like using these technology, we can actually help to make better planning decisions.
Yeah. So that's already something that's looking at being implemented then. So I'm sure you'd be quite interested in sort of seeing how that's being used like within the company.
Yeah, so for me, it's like I do kind of join in our company, we have like live events or webinars which kind of showcase what people like are working on. So and then they can facilitate discussion and see how, because all these products, so for example like the software that they've developed, is most of them are still kind of under trial. So like anything from we can actually provide any input to shape how the product looks like at the end, depending on the user requirement. So it's quite an interesting thing to be involved in.
Okay. If you could do any other job in the world, I feel like you're already going to say programming, but if you could do any other job in the world, what would you do?
Is it, can it be anything?
Anything at all?
I think originally when I was young, I want to be a set designer, which is like if you go to London, you have like all those fancy musical and drama. Originally, I want to be like a set designer because I do enjoy watching the dramas in the theater. But I think now, if you're talking about current stage, I will enjoy being an engineer, because what I'm doing, I can actually see like things being built, things being implemented, and it's just like something completely different, but off topic. But it's not science related. But I do feel it's something that I personally still find, if I have the opportunity, I want to do something like that.
Right. Well, I'm really sorry to cut this short, as I am having an amazing time. I don't want to keep you from amazing work too long. I do hope you enjoyed having a chat with us, and I've certainly enjoyed listening to some of your answers, and especially seeing the video on the presentation at the beginning.
Yeah.
And to everybody who's watching, I hope that you've enjoyed this chance to for a once in a lifetime opportunity to interview Kary. So thank you again. It has been a real pleasure chatting with you about your work.
Yeah, sure. And also, I think one thing I would say is like, we do encourage you all to come back to use the railway, because now, like with the COVID pandemic, the numbers of passengers kind of decreases. But like, if we think that there's also another opportunity, is you can use the train services to explore other beautiful parts within the UK. So for example, like in Yorkshire area, or in like Wales, or in Cornwall area, there's like a lot of nice place to go. So do like use the public transport, and like we hope to see you there, like using our services.
Yeah, brilliant. It's been really inspiring for me today, and I hope that everybody else that's watched has been blown away as well. Remember, everybody, you can watch us interview all kinds of interesting people every Wednesday at 1:30. Don't worry if you've joined too late and you've missed anything. You can catch all of it on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/primary engineer in a few days' time when it's been uploaded. I hope you have a lovely day, and remember to access all of your resources for the project on www.leadersaward.com. Once again, thank you, Kary. It has been absolutely lovely, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day, everyone.
See you later. Happy engineering.